The sky above Kareth Prime burned the color of dying embers. Ash drifted like snow across the shattered battlements of the Imperial Palace, settling over alien banners torn by artillery fire. The once silver towers of the Varelian Empire now stood cracked and blackened, their elegant spires broken against the horizon. Commander Alaris Vaith stepped through the smoke, her boots crunching over fragments of marble and bone. She had not removed her helmet in 3 days. Her armor, sleek, violet alloy etched with the sigil of the Empress, was stained with soot and the dark shimmer of blood. In her hand, she carried a crescent-shaped plasma blade. Its hum vibrated up her arm, steady and merciless. Humans had breached the outer gates at dawn. They were not like the Varelians had imagined. For decades, the Empire had dismissed humanity as a minor species from a peripheral system, clever, adaptable, but fractured.
Soft.
That illusion had died screaming. Alaris had watched human dropships descend through orbital fire like falling meteors, watched soldiers march through bombardment without hesitation. They did not retreat when their wounded fell. They advanced. Now the palace corridors were littered with bodies, Varelian and human alike. And at the heart of it all lay the throne chamber. Alaris reached the final archway and paused. Smoke curled from shattered pillars. Light flickered through the broken dome overhead. At the far end stood a single human soldier. He was alone. His armor was bulkier than hers, matte black and scarred from direct hits. A rifle hung at his back. A blade, crude compared to her elegant weapon, rested in his hand. Between them lay the body of the Empress. Alaris's breath hitched inside her helmet. The Empress's robes, once radiant with living threads of bioluminescent silk, were dim. A scorch mark cut across her torso. She was still. Rage surged through Alaris like a second heartbeat. She stepped forward. The human turned to face her. He did not raise his weapon. "You're the last one," she said, her voice translated into the human tongue through her helmet's vocalizer. "You stand before the throne of a fallen empire." The human's visor reflected the burning ceiling above. He said nothing. Alaris lifted her blade. "On your knees." The human tilted his head slightly. Then slowly he released his weapon. It clattered to the floor. Alaris hesitated. It could be a trick. Humans were cunning. Desperate. "On your knees," she repeated. Instead, the human reached up and began to remove his helmet. Alaris's grip tightened. The seals hissed as he broke the atmospheric lock. The helmet came free, revealing a face smeared with ash and sweat. Dark hair clung to his forehead. A thin cut bled across his brow. He was younger than she expected, and his eyes, they were not filled with hatred. They were tired. "My name," he said quietly, "is Captain Adrian Vale." She did not lower her blade. "Names are irrelevant. Not today." The word struck something in her. She had seen humans die screaming. She had seen them laugh through pain. But this one looked at her as though she were not his enemy, as though she were something else entirely. "You killed my Empress," Alaris said. Adrian's jaw tightened. "No," he replied. "I didn't. You stand alone in her chamber. I stand alone because I ordered my squad to fall back." The blade hummed louder as her pulse quickened. "You expect me to believe you spared us?" He shook his head slightly.
"No."
"I expect you to listen." Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant explosions. "You have one breath," she said. Adrian glanced at the fallen Empress. "She's not dead." The world seemed to tilt. Alaris's blade flickered. "You lie." "If I wanted her dead," he said steadily, "she would be." Her instincts screamed that this was deception. Yet something in his voice, calm, unwavering, refused to align with a killer's triumph. She took a pulse round, he continued. Low yield. I adjusted the setting. You. Alaris stepped forward, fury rising. You dare. I stopped my own soldier from firing lethal. Her thoughts fractured.
Why?
Because this war doesn't end with her corpse, he said softly. It ends with a decision. Alaris's blade trembled. You invaded us. Your empire enslaved 3 border colonies. Human ones. They were annexed territories. They were families. The word struck harder than any weapon. Alaris remembered the briefings. The expansion mandates. Resources, strategic routes, compliance quotas. She had never seen the faces. Adrian took a slow step forward. Her blade hovered at his throat instantly. He did not flinch. You want to kill me, he said.
Do it.
I've lost people too. The confession caught her off guard. My brother, he continued. First wave. Orbital defense platform. Vaporize. His voice cracked, but only slightly. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because someone has to be the first to stop. Stop, she whispered. He nodded toward the Empress. She signed the annexation order. She can sign a withdrawal. You expect mercy from us? No, he said. I expect survival. Outside, another explosion rocked the palace. Alaris looked at the Empress's still form. If she was alive, hope was a dangerous thing.
You could be stalling, she said.
Then check. Her heart pounded. Slowly, never taking her eyes off him, she deactivated her blade and moved to the Empress. She knelt. Her gauntlet scanned for vitals. A faint signal pulsed.
Weak. But there.
Alaris inhaled sharply.
Alive.
She looked up at Adrian. He met her gaze without triumph. I told you. Why? She demanded. Why spare her? He hesitated. Because I saw her face. Alaris frowned. When the ceiling collapsed, he said quietly, she shielded one of your servants. Threw herself over him. Alaris remembered that servant. Young. Newly appointed. She could have run, Adrian continued. She didn't. The image warred with everything Alaris believed about human brutality. You expect me to believe in your compassion now? She asked bitterly. No, he replied. I expect you to decide whether we keep killing each other until there's nothing left. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Human reinforcements. Alaris stood, blade reigniting. Adrian turned at the sound. If they see you over her body, he said quickly, they'll fire. And if mine arrive, she countered, you die.
A beat.
Then, he did something she would never forget. He unlatched his chest armor. The heavy plating fell away, clanging against the floor. He stripped off his gauntlets, his shoulder guards, until he stood in a simple undersuit, vulnerable, unarmed. Alaris stared. What are you doing?
Choosing, he said.
The footsteps grew louder. If they come through that door and see me like this, he continued, they'll hesitate. They'll wait for orders. You gamble much. I'm betting on you. The words struck deeper than any blade. Why would he trust her? She was the enemy commander. She could cut him down in an instant. Her weapon hummed inches from his bare throat. You think removing armor makes you brave? She asked. No, he said softly. It makes me honest. The human soldiers burst into the chamber. Rifles raised. They froze at the sight, their captain unarmored, standing before a Varelian commander and her fallen empress. Stand down, Adrian barked. Confusion rippled through them. Sir, one asked. Lower your weapons. Reluctantly, they obeyed. Alaris's own communit crackled. Varelian survivors approaching. In seconds, both forces would collide.
She could end it now. Kill him.
Call her soldiers. Fight to the last breath. That was the Varelian way. But the Empress's faint heartbeat pulsed against her palm. And this human, this strange, reckless human, had spared her. Not for advantage. For possibility. Alaris extinguished her blade. The sound seemed louder than any explosion. Her soldiers entered moments later, weapons aimed. They stopped, stunned. She stood tall between both sides. "The Empress lives," she declared. Shock rippled through the chamber. "She requires immediate medical transport." Her second-in-command looked from her to the humans. "Commander, stand down." The words tasted like surrender, but they felt like something else.
Choice.
Adrian exhaled slowly, as if he had been holding his breath for hours. "This war pauses," Alaris continued, her voice steady, "until the Empress wakes. And if she orders us to continue?" One of the humans challenged. Adrian met Alaris's eyes. "Then we continue," she said. But something in her tone suggested she no longer believed that would happen. The Empress awoke 2 days later in a fortified medical wing under joint guard. When she learned what had occurred, how a human captain had spared her, how Alaris had chosen ceasefire, she wept. Not from weakness. From clarity. Negotiations began within the week. They were bitter. Painful. Accusations flew like artillery shells. But no shots were fired. Adrian attended every session without armor. Alaris kept hers on for the first 3 days. On the 4th, she removed her helmet. Gasps echoed around the chamber. Varelians rarely showed their faces to outsiders. It was an act of profound trust, or defiance. She did it for neither. She did it because she was tired of hiding behind metal. Adrian noticed. He did not smile. He simply inclined his head. Months passed. Borders were redrawn. Colonies released. Prisoners exchanged. The war did not end in triumph. It ended in compromise. On the day the treaty was signed, Alaris stood beside the Empress on the palace balcony, now under reconstruction. Below, humans and Varelians worked side by side clearing debris. Adrian approached, no armor in sight. "You look different without a blade raised at me," he said lightly. She regarded him. "You look smaller without your armor." He laughed softly. "Probably am." Silence settled between them. "You risked everything," she said. "Why?" He considered. "Because someone had to." She nodded slowly. "I was prepared to kill you," she admitted. "I know. You trusted me anyway." He met her gaze. "I saw who you were when you checked her pulse." She felt heat rise beneath her skin. "You could have struck me then," she said. "You could have struck me too." A faint smile touched her lips. "The palace fell silent that day," she murmured. "Yeah," he agreed. "It did." "But in that silence," she continued, "we heard something else." "What's that?" "An end." He shook his head gently. "A beginning." Below them, a human engineer handed a tool to a Varelian architect. They exchanged awkward nods. Alaris watched the scene. For the first time since the invasion began, the sky above Kareth Prime was clear. No ash, no fire, just light. She turned to Adrian. "In Varelian tradition," she said, "when two warriors end a blood feud, they exchange armor." He blinked. "Armor." She reached her shoulder and unclasped a small violet plate, the insignia of her command. "I offer this," she said. He hesitated only a moment before removing the captain's crest from his own uniform. They exchanged them. No ceremony. No witnesses but the wind. "Does this mean," he asked carefully, "that if we ever fight again," she stepped closer, "we will stand side by side?" He smiled then fully. And in that moment, the memory of blades raised and armor falling became something else entirely. A story, one that would be told across both their peoples for generations, of the day a commander raised her blade until the human took off his armor.